Hi, everybody. Okay.
Hey, sir. Good morning.
How are you doing, Sanjay?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Good. Hi, Ben. Okay. Like I said yesterday, today I'm just going to give you some time to work on the project. And if you have any questions about Lab 7, which was the change order one, that's fine. And before we start, though, I just want to open up. I want to open up Blackboard, and so let's go Blackboard. Uh, just get this open. So on Blackboard, and can you guys see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Great. So I've got this thing here on the menu. It says self-enroll groups. So I think you should be able to go in and select your group. So there's two people, right? So it will let you, it will actually let you select up to 3 people, but 2 people is generally probably what you're shooting for. If somebody asks me, can we have 4? I'm going to say you got 2 groups of 2. So, but I'll leave that flexibility. So if you can set your group, if you know who you're doing it with, go self-enroll. So you should be able to click on it and then pick, or I'm not sure how exactly that works, but I think you're able to just click a group that hasn't already been selected, and then just make sure your group member selects the same group. So you figure out the number and you make sure that your group member selects the same group. You guys have probably done that before in other classes, right? Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Good. So is that how it works? Because I don't think I see it exactly the way you see it. I'm not sure. Or is this the way you see it? If you select one, um, yeah, I'm not exactly sure because I think mine's showing me like in teacher mode. So I guess I
So
could.
basically, we just look for the same number, and we just each select the same thing.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. So I'll put out an announcement while you guys are doing that stuff in lab today, and just once more to reiterate, the major group assignment stuff is under this tab. So you've got the assignment instructions, you've got the drawings for the building, new township building, which I've looked at in previous classes, right? So if it comes up, give it a minute for it to download. Being Blackboard, it's not the quickest. Of course, you can just download the file on the PDF to your computer. You don't have to look at it through Blackboard. But this is the building. So when you're creating your delays, look at the schedule, look at the building, and try and figure out something that would cause a delay, right? So that's how you'll create your delays that way. And at the same time, too, before you set the baseline, if you see something that needs improvement or something that's not quite right, look to better the schedule. So that's the other thing. But I think other than that, I think it should be pretty straightforward. It's not all that unlike the Lab 7 assignment where you're doing an update and you're doing a recovery, you're putting a change order in it. The only difference is you're doing it over a series of months. And given that we did look at cash flow, I'll just show you once more. I'll just show you once more on Microsoft Project how you can review cash flow. Seeing we were talking about that in our lecture yesterday. You go to File. And this is similar to the file that you have in this is for that same building that we were just looking at for your major project assignment. So this is the start point file I give you for MS Project for that, right? And one of the things I would probably look at if I were you, I would go to the resource sheet. And you see all of the resources there. I would probably go and check the cost sheet in the resource sheet. We've done that a number of times. And I would look, oh, there's been nothing, there's been no cost applied for the mobile crane. There's been nothing applied to the landscaping sub, and there's been nothing to the concrete supplier. There's been nothing on the inspections. There's been nothing on the consultants, and maybe think about adding some costs to those ones. The easiest way would be wherever they're applied in the project. That would be one way of improving it, to be sure. So these are some things you can think about doing for that. So what I was going to show you though was the cash flow. The other thing is with the cash flow, you could also check the resource sheet, and you could go back to the entry view in the resource sheet, and you could say, oh, everything is prorated. Do I want everything? I don't want subcontractors prorated. I want to pay them at the end. So you could change that to the end for all of these things that are subcontractors, right? So all of those you could put to the end. And then maybe you'd want to say, all right, well, this one I want at the start, framing lumber supplier. So you could look at making sure that they're where you want them to be. If it's got a dollar amount or something, well, this one, cubic meters of concrete, you might want to put at the end. Painting sub, you might want to put at the end, right? These ones may be prorated, something like that, right? Anything an hour, you probably want prorated. You don't want it at the start, or you don't want it at the end. So anything that is work, you would want basically assigned that way. And this has an impact on how it will show on your cash flow report. So go to report, go to costs, cash flow, and your cash flow report is over here. Now this might show up, I don't know how it'll show up on your file. It'll show up however I left it. But if you want to adjust it, you just click here, and that will bring up this field list over here. And then you can edit the time, like you can do endless stuff with this, but I want it to show time, the category time, edit. And now how do I want to see it? Do I want to see it by the week? It'll show me by the week, the money that's flowing out by the week based on how we assign the costs, right? So you can sort of see it, it kind of goes up and then it goes down, right? And there's some months that it seems to be higher than other months if it's by the week. If I want to show it by the month, I just click there and I go month. And that's probably giving you a little bit more realistic sort of view of what's going on. So that's basically, this is all of this money is adding up to the cost that I've applied to the project. If you do it later on, when you've got a baseline saved, it'll show you the baseline cost. It'll show you the actual cost. It'll show you the remaining cost, and it'll show you if there's a variance. On this particular one I'm showing you, it hasn't been set as a baseline, so it doesn't show you that yet. Um, if I go back, slide to the left, or sorry, go to the Gantt chart, slide to the left, right click. If I go back to my resource sheet, and I change that, we're going to pay the project manager at the start, right? It's going to put a lot more money on the project manager early, right? Same with if I put the site super at the start. I think that if we slide to the left and we right click and we go to the Gantt chart, we would see that the site superintendent and the project manager, 50%, are assigned to this whole project. So the whole project, I've assigned them both. If I go now to my report, I should see a lot more cost right at the beginning of the project if I go to cash flow than I did before. See all that money there? Well, that's because I said I'm going to pay them at the beginning. Doesn't make sense to pay them at the beginning though. It makes best sense to pay them prorated, right? So that would give you not the correct information if you assigned it incorrectly. So what you want to make sure of is that you have that set up that it's the way you want it, like the way that you intend to pay the money out. So if I go back, now I go back to the resource sheet. And instead, let's say if I made it at the end, it should show a pile of money at the end of the project now. So if I put these two at the end, and I go to report, see all the money at the end, and there's hardly anything at the beginning now, right? Because they're getting paid at the end. That won't work either though. So the most realistic is to go back to the resource sheet. And that's why I said for them, prorated makes sense. So you actually have to think about your various trades, but usually subcontractors, it's at the end of when they've been assigned the activities and how much money you assign to it. So that is the difference there when we're looking at costs and we're looking at reports. So now it's prorated. Now you'll probably see some at the beginning, some at the end, but kind of all the way through it'll be spread out. All right, so some at the beginning, some at the end, but it's more evenly distributed through the project. So that's the cash flow report. So that's one of the points to know how to explain that and to do that when I do have you do the presentation stuff. And that's that. So are there any questions? How are you guys? Are you got the lab assignment done yet, or are you still working on it?
Hey, sir.
Yeah.
For today's class, are we doing a lab 8 or is it just
no, as I said, we're just I was going over the assignment, and yeah, if you're got lab 7 done, you're good with lab 7, then I would get lab I'm not lab, I would start on the project, and if you have any questions about the project, I can help you out, because unless I'm sadly mistaken, the project is due towards the end of next week. So you have to get on it, right? So I'm giving time that you could actually work on that and ask me any questions that you want on the project today. Just let me see if I can find the project. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Where do I have my project? Well, let's go back to Blackboard. Okay, so let's take a look at the assignment instructions. Slow. Okay. And yeah, so when's this due? This is due. Assignment's due on March 25th, Thursday. So till midnight Thursday, March 25th, which is next Thursday, not this Thursday, the following week. So yes, I'm giving you time for this. We have one more lab that we have to do for your marks, and we've got the major project, we got the presentations, we got the final exam, and I still have, I think, 3 more quizzes after this one. And there's a quiz due on Thursday. So hopefully that helps clarify it. Any other questions? And chat, where did my chat go? Oh, there we go. Okay, well, if there's no questions, I'll be here. You can start looking at your major project assignment and thinking it through. Open some of the files, get yourself familiar with it, and let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I have a few questions, but
Sure.
for some reason my computer is taking forever to log in, so I'm on my phone. So when I switch over, I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay. I've got time. I'll be here for a little bit. For sure. I got lots to do while I'm waiting for questions. I thought there was something else that I wanted to mention. Well, the other thing is don't forget to do the quiz because it's due by Thursday. And make sure you've watched videos 6C, 8A, and 8B. Particularly probably 8B is where there's a lot of calculation questions. Have your phone with you. You can do whatever calculations you need to do with your calculator in the phone.
So for the final exam, right?
Yeah. So W4
Is there gonna be
and
calculation
Z2R.
questions?
So W4 and Z2R, who is it? Who am I
Yeah,
talking?
I don't know why my name.
Who is it though? Who are you?
It's Giancarlo.
Oh, hi, Giancarlo.
I'm not sure why it's under that. I'm not sure.
That's okay. I just I
It's
wanted to know.
Giancarlo Zanuti.
How are you doing, Giancarlo?
My internet's been really laggy this morning. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, cut in and out a little bit, but I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear
So
you.
is there gonna be calculation questions for the final exam, sir?
Yeah, there'll be some. They'll be similar
Okay.
to the ones like you get on the quizzes and stuff.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, they'll be very similar. So, like I said in the lecture too, I said, you know, the calculations like for present value or future value, they're not hard. You can download a financial calculator, like, I don't know, for hardly anything. Or there's probably websites that you just plug in the numbers and it's pretty easy for you to figure it out. Like I did my present value and that I have this simple business calculator that I downloaded years ago, and it's just, you know, it just has everything like present value. It's a financial calculator, right? So it's an app. It's just an app. So there's probably lots of them. Some of them are probably next to nothing. You know, that makes it
That's
easy.
cool, sir.
You
Thank
could use the formulas that I gave you if you have a regular calculator. That's fine. It just takes a few minutes longer. That's all.
Okay, sounds good, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, morning, sir.
Hey, how's it going, Pranav?
It's me.
Pranav,
It's me.
yeah. You sent me an email yesterday.
Yeah, I was just wanted to ask you if you got a chance to respond to it, or
I thought maybe we could we could just go in a breakout room quickly and talk.
Okay, perfect. That'll be perfect.
Okay, so I'll put us into a breakout room. I think I can do that. So let's see.
You could do it at the end of the class if you want instead, if other people
Yeah,
have
okay.
questions.
Yeah, let's do it
Doesn't
that way.
matter.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
cool.
Let's do it that way. And so yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
I did see your email, but I was thinking, yeah, it's easier to talk to you than to try to put it in an email for sure.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds like a pretty good opportunity.
I know. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. They're a good company. I've dealt with a lot of people from them in my training at Mechanical Contractors Association. So I know they're a very good company. It's always good. Opportunities are good.
At this point, any is better than none, right?
Yeah. I'm sure. I think the economy, construction's been pretty good through all this overall, and so I just see it picking up. You know, I see as people, as these vaccines start to roll out and all this stuff, I think it's going to pick up pretty good pretty quickly. My wife got her vaccine yesterday, so that was good. So that's great. She's just in that 60 to 64. I miss it, so I gotta wait. But I think everybody's probably going to have the opportunity by end of June, I think. So things will start to really, I think, ramp up. I think there's a lot of pent up things going on in a lot of areas, not just construction. Days in the project, I can make it happen anywhere. Yes, that's right, Zahao. Make it happen during that period, but anywhere in that period is fine, but make it happen in that period. So if you're updating from May 1st to April 1st, just make sure the delay happens between May 1st and April 1st. That's fine. And make sure, I'm just going to tell everybody, make sure that when you create the delays, as soon as you do it, figure out why did this delay happen and put a note. That's going to make it so much easier for you to fill out the schedule narrative if you put a note as to why. Because then afterwards, you're just going to look at your notes when you're doing the narrative, and it's going to be not that hard. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at it and it's like, what happened here? Why did I do this? What's going on? That's what you want to do. So notes are very helpful that way. It saves you time. Doesn't make extra work. It's going to save you time when you fill out the narrative.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to switch over to the laptop, so I'm just saying, look out for me.
Sorry, what's that, Sanjay?
No, I'm saying I'm gonna switch to my laptop now, so I was just saying, look out for it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll keep an eye.
All right.
Definitely.
Hey, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're ready to talk about the questions.
Yeah, sure I am.
You want to go in the breakout room, sir? It's me and Leon.
Sorry, only one file. Yep. Okay. Okay, Sanjay, what do you want to ask me?
Yeah, so do you mind if we go in the breakout room, sir?
Yeah, sure.
It's me and Leon.
Oh, you and Leanne? Okay, let me see. Breakout room, create. Okay, create one breakout room. So there we go. Sign. RG. Is Leanne? Oh, there she is. Yeah, I see her. Okay. So we'll just be in the breakout room. Everybody else, I'll come out in a little bit. Okay. If you have a question, then I'll answer when I come out. Okay, Leanne, Sanjay, you should be able to join. How are you guys?
Doing good, sir. Oh man.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Leanne.
How's your wife after her vaccine?
Good. She said she had just maybe a slight little fever last night, maybe. So that's good, actually. They say if you get a little bit of, it means
Yeah,
it's
it's like expected.
yeah. So that's good. I'm glad she did it. She was debating, just because of the blood clotting thing they're talking about, right? So
Mhm.
I'm sure it's fine. I don't think there's, and personally, I think there's nothing going on with the vaccines. I think it's probably fine. What I said to my wife, if it was me and I could do it, I would be taking it right away. Like I'd be running there. I have to actually take her mother this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
She gets a different one. She gets I think the Moderna one, because she's over 80.
So they have two different ones now, sir.
Well,
The
they
one
have.
for 60 to 64.
Well,
And
60 to 64 is the AstraZeneca. I think they're going to change that today. I think they've figured out, like, it wasn't that you couldn't, it's just they didn't have the data, because when they tested it, they didn't test it on people over 80, so they didn't know. But in the UK, they've given millions to people over 80, and they know now, in my opinion. I don't know. I have a fair amount of faith in the UK sort of healthcare system, more so than Europe. So I think it's probably pretty good. You see the numbers, they're dropping dramatically, like in the UK, like big time. Whereas Europe, they haven't been giving the vaccines so quickly, and they're just rising, right? So it's big dichotomy. And Israel, it was really, you talk about project management and stuff. I was telling my wife, I find this stuff really interesting. So I read a Times article this morning, and it was, so Europe, they got a little bit smart, right? They thought, we're going to negotiate really low prices for these vaccines. So they started negotiating with all these vaccine manufacturers. And you know what? They did get a low price. They got like $15 for a vaccine. But you know what? In the process, it took them longer, and they're low on the priority. So they're the bottom priority for these manufacturers. Whereas Israel said, how much do you want for how much are the vaccines? And they said, I think like $20. We'll pay you 25. They were at the top of the priority. So Europe saves like $5 or $5 or $10 over Israel's. But meanwhile, you got thousands and thousands of people dying, and it's costing your economy like trillions. It doesn't make any sense, So you look at that time cost quality, it's interesting. But anyways, so what do you want to ask me?
yes, sir. So We've kind of done a rough draft of what we want to do
Okay,
to the main project. Yeah, so we kind of did what you were saying. We break it down. We make notes on the reasons for why the delay happened
yep.
for each of them.
Hmm.
Um, However, if we don't do like the first delay and recover it, we won't know exactly where it would fall for the second delay would fall, right?
Right.
Exactly. All right. So
So you do it from beginning, like you were doing a project.
right. So we run up in a few questions ourselves, and we were wondering. So the first question that we have is the whole delay one task or multiple tasks under one heading? Like for example,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
like for example, it could be the weather, bad weather, where we were doing clearing the site. The soil is unsturdy and the machines could operate over to like the bulldozer and stuff could grade the site and stuff. So it's like it's more than one thing
Yeah, that's fine.
that's in the delay, but like do we put just one name and
Nope.
name it delay? Or we can use more than one task?
Okay, let's say that forming the foundation was delayed by bad weather. Just
Right.
make the forming the foundation 2 days longer. Right? Like what you could do is you could do several things. So you could close that. Okay, let me see. You could let me open that example. Okay, so I just got to close this again. So you could, for example, if I just go scroll to task, if you were updating this, you could say, as an example, you could go, let me just, you could say, all right, excavate foundation as an example. You could say this got delayed. So I could go to split task. I could go to, oh, is it playing that game again? Yeah. Sometimes it does this. All right. You could go to, let's see, excavate foundation, and you could, I think I might have to close it and open it again. Yeah, okay. Two things you could do. You could just say this takes 2 days longer, right? You could do that, right? So that takes 2 days longer. And then of course you could say it's, when you update it, if you mark on track or whatever, you could say that it's done. And then you could put a note to say that excavate foundation was delayed by 2 days. Wherever it is, here it is. Excavate, there it is. Excavate foundation was delayed by 2 days due to bad weather, right? So that's one way of doing it. The other way is you could also, if you wanted to keep track of it, you could also put at the bottom, you could say bad weather days. Let's give me a hard time there. Bad weather days, and then you could say excavate foundation, right? And then you could just put a reminder to yourself that excavate foundation, because you don't link this to anything. This is where you could put in constraints for something. You're just sort of putting a reminder to yourself at the very bottom, separate from the rest of the project,
Yeah.
that this was delayed, whatever the bad weather days, let's say it was June 16th to the 18th, right?
Right.
So you could just put June 16th to June 18th. And then you've got this little reminder. So for the whole project at the bottom, you would have a list of every activity that was affected by bad weather. And you would actually have a summary of all of those bad weather days. So if you, let's say you lost in 40 activities, let's say you lost 60 days, it would add it all up. You would have them all down there as reminders to yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a way of organizing them just for tracking purposes. You wouldn't have to look at each single note, but you could always go back to the note and say, you know, if you put more information in the note, bad weather due to high winds, or bad weather due to blizzard, or bad weather due to rain, you know, you could do that, right, in the note. But down here, you could have this sort of recording of all the bad weather days. You could even put a note on this too, if you preferred, like you can do it that way too, right?
Right.
And then it's easy to track all the bad weather days. Because let's say you allowed 70 days in the schedule and you ended up with 100 bad weather days. Well, then that's 30 days you could seek relief on, an extension to the contract finish date. So that's one way of tracking it, Sanjay.
Yeah, so for instance, it also affect clearing and grubbing. We would put that on if the weather affected that, we should just put that on a bad weather as well.
Yeah, so if it affected this, make this 7 days if it affected it by 2 days. And if it's done, it's done, right? So you could say it's 100% done. And then you'd put another activity, putting those days, whatever they are.
Oh, okay. So in
But make sure you extend these over here, eh? Because it should, if now I think it should show a variance of 4 days, I think. Well, maybe they're at the same time. Let's see. Yeah, because they overlapped. That's why. So that's not showing anything. Oh, you know why that went like this? You see how that went like that? Well, because I already said this was done. So it extended this. So also the other thing you should know is when you update, update from earlier activities to later activities. Don't update from later activities backwards. Because this is locked in place on those dates. Once I say it was done on those dates, it's locked there. So if I say, for example, if I go back here and I go here, right? If I zero this one out, watch what happens. So I'll zero this out. If I say this is 8 days, right? It's just going to push this, right? It's not going to push this because this is locked here because I said it's done on those dates.
Yeah.
It won't change those. If I wanted to really show the impact, like if this being delayed that, then I shouldn't have had this being done as shown as done. Right? Because if I zero this out now, see what happens? It pushed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just getting to understand the logic of how it works. Okay. Other question?
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
going back to that. So you don't typically want like a task inserted and saying like delay 1 and then listing out the delay.
No.
Okay.
No, you just delay those tasks and then say that they're delayed. That's all.
And then just give the reason. Okay.
Yep.
And then one of our delays we were thinking like was related to like the concrete. So we were wondering if there were structural drawings for the just like to know the strength of the concrete.
Those are all the drawings I have. So but is it not in there or in the specs of it?
Well, we tried to look, but then it was like it's related to structural, so
I would think it's still in that because it's done as a base. Because it's just like a residential kind. It's not a residential structure, but the way it's drawn is pretty much that way. So if you look in
Okay.
the specs, I think you'll find it, like the strength of the concrete. I'll take a look.
okay, we can look again.
If it's not, you can just say what it is, and that's fine. But
All right. And then our
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
we just wrote out the question, so we're just reading it. The narrative that we have to fill out, are we filling this out before or after the recovery?
well, the narrative you're filling out the narrative before the recovery because you're explaining all the delays, right? You could have done the recovery already because it's a separate file, but the impacts of all the delays you're explaining, right?
Okay. Just before our session closes,
Yeah.
the recovery thing that you've uploaded, there's like an appendix that's included. Is that just like a part of the example?
Yeah, you don't have to provide that.
Okay.
But in the real world, that's what they do.
Oh, okay.
Well, you are providing that. You're providing the update file, you're providing the recovery file, some of it
And then-
anyways.
Yeah, just last question. Just typically whenever we're pulling time back, like we can take it from anywhere, but then earlier is better.
Yeah, follow the direct method.
All right. That is it, I think.
That's everything?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Perfect timing. And
All right. Thank you.
I want to see that about the concrete. I'm going to take a look at that. Okay, let's see this. I don't know. Where is that major projects? I don't understand. Victor, are you there? Can you hear me? It looks like you're still connecting to audio. Long time to connect. A 1.0. So Joe and Victor, just so you know, everybody's been working on their lab from last week or the major project, and I've just been answering questions whenever somebody's had that. So I kind of went over that at the very beginning, but nothing new, just the lab from last week finishing. And you can select your groups on Blackboard. So I've set up a line where you can select your groups, groups of 2. It'll take up to 3, but no more than 3, but generally groups of 2. And you can start on the major assignment because it's due by Thursday of next week, end of day.
Sir,
Yep.
so for the July 2nd, 2021, for this create a 5 days delay, and you want a change order, right?
Sorry, what was that? You want the
July 2nd,
Yep.
2021, it says create a 5 days delay.
Yep.
And the middle part is say you want to change order for this.
Yep.
So I can put these 5 days or in a change order, or I can like separate it. Some is caused by like the weather, so 1 day delay, then like 3 days in the change order.
Well, make the change order cause a 5-day delay.
Okay.
But
Or
it
in
could
change
be-
orders.
Yeah, make the change order cause a 5-day delay in this case. Kind of like the last lab we did, right?
Oh yeah, that's easy. And for the last one, the August 20th, for this one, you just want to put in whatever I can think.
Yeah. So you can look around August 20th, what's going on in the project.
Mhm.
Think about a change, something that they might want to do. You can invent
So
it.
is there a day, like a couple of days you want, like 10 days, 5 days?
Don't make it too crazy, like 5 days, something like that, or maybe 10 days. That's fine.
Okay. 5 days. Okay, that's all my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great.
Hey, sir.
Yeah,
Did you find anything about the structure, or you didn't get a chance to look?
I did. I looked through it. So Leanne's right. There's no concrete strength, but everything else is there. All the rebar, all the thing, but there is no concrete strength. It just refers to ASTM guidelines. So that would have been in the specifications, I guess, the concrete strength, but everything else is there. Just not like all the structural requirements, the reinforcing rods, all of that's there. Just not the concrete strength. So very good that she saw the one thing that's not there.
Because we were looking and we were like, it's nowhere in here. So
yeah, like the information about the lintels over the windows, the roof trusses, that's there, but not the strength of the concrete.
So we'd have to come up with a different reason then, right?
Well, what was the reason you're coming up with?
So for one part, after we, a rough draft where we update and recovery, one of the delays, I think it falls somewhere where it says pour concrete,
right?
And columns, somewhere between there, right? So we were thinking about wrong concrete strength batch delivered to the site and something like that.
So you could say, if you want, incorrect concrete strength sent. received 2,500 psi, required 4,000 psi.
Okay, okay. Because we were just looking through the joint to see.
Yeah, you're right.
See, yeah, yeah.
But you could
All
say
right.
that.
So, okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
That's interesting. Symptoms.
All right, thanks, sir. We're gonna go.
Okay,
Work on
Leanne, take it easy.
See you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, sir. Let's look forward for any email if we run into any problems.
Sure, no problem. No
All right,
problem.
sir,
And you know what? The rest of the week too, if you see another lab time, you can always jump in too.
Okay, sir. All right. Thanks.
Hey, sir.
Hi, Pranav.
Hey, since class is coming to the end, do you mind if we could go into the breakout room
Yeah,
quickly?
sure, sure.
Perfect.
Breakout room. Oh, there we go. So I'll be back in a few minutes, everybody else. Okay, Pranav.
Okay, perfect. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So actually, I had so the position I'm getting an interview for is it was originally I applied for the intern position within the mechanical and electrical ICI construction sector with them.
Yeah.
And then so what happened was I don't know I don't know if I could call it a phone interview, but she just asked me a bunch. I had a quick phone chat with the recruiter last week on and I would say like she gave me a bunch of preliminary questions. So I remember I wrote down some of the questions she wrote, like she asked me. So some of them were like, why do you think you're the right fit? Where do you see yourself in in 5 years? Your availability, what are your career goals? What kind of position would you want to prefer? And like, why do you want to work here and stuff like that, right? So I answered those questions. So since it's the pandemic time, not many recruiters are reaching back out to people right now. So I did a lot of research before that, and then I had like pages and pages. So I guess like she was impressed with it, and she gave me a call back, and she told me that she's like, you're going to be interviewing for 2 positions, for a project coordinator or an intern position. So I was just wondering, like, what do you think? Because yeah, so in the email I got, like when she called me originally, she's like, I'm just happy to. She's like, since you're going to be graduating, she's like, instead of the intern position too, she's like, I put you in the running for a project coordinator position if like, and it's up to you. So
Yeah. Yeah. If you can get the project coordinator, that would be great.
I know that would be perfect too, because intern roles that you don't know if they're gonna keep you after, right? It just matters on the
Well, you know what? The reason they do interns is they're just trying to find the best people. So if you do pretty good during the internship, they do it to hire people. Most companies don't do an intern to for the fun of it. It's a waste of time
Yeah.
for them.
Uh-huh.
Usually they're a big company like that. The reason they do internships is they want to try to get the best people and see if they're a fit. So they don't do
Mhm.
it to, maybe pay somebody cheaper for 3 months. A big company is
Okay.
worth the effort. So usually if you do well, even if you get the internship,
Mhm.
and the good thing about that is then, because a lot of times, like in the degree program, if somebody does like an internship, then they go back to school for another year, like a co-op, right? And then
Exactly.
they have to wait. They'd rather just take that person.
Exactly, because when she called me, she told me, she's like, "Oh, you're the first person I called," and then she was just telling me, she's like, "I really liked how you did a lot of research for the company," because like I read the whole website, I found out the jobs they did, I made sure I wrote down all their company values and how I could relate to them, so I made sure. And the best part is that she was the same lady for the industry expo, so I rewatched that and I wrote down a lot of her quotes, and I ended up saying them to her, and she's like, I guess that's why she's like, "Oh, I really liked you," kind of deal. But I was just wondering what kind of questions you think they would ask. So like I have some written down what they like I found from the internet, but I was like looking for your own personal opinion, what you think they would ask for an intern / or project coordinator role within Black & McDonald.
Well, they might ask you, why construction, Pranav? Why did
Okay.
you choose construction
Yeah.
as a career? What's driving you towards that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And come up with something that's better than, I like driving big trucks and I want to drive around the sites. Don't come up
Oh, for sure. Okay.
And they might come up with so what other jobs have you had, Pranav?
So I had so what I did before I was in school, I was actually a carpenter with Strut Farm. So I was a former carpenter with them for around right under around 2 years. So I was apprentice carpenter with them, and before that I was a gas technician assistant. So I actually was and I went to so I actually do have a previous diploma at Centennial College for a heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning technician program. But but the thing is that in reality it just didn't suit what I wanted to do. I just had no drive towards it, and then at the same time it was hard for me to find jobs. So what happened was I just switched one day and I just joined the union from Local 27, and I got a call back right away in the next day or two. I did a test. I went in, and then they accepted me right away. And then I was waiting on a wait list, and what happened was wait list was taking too long. So I just spoke to my professor from the union hall, and he just told me, he's like, honestly, man, he's like, just take your hard hat and tool belt with you, leave it in your car, and just drive around where you see cranes. So I started doing that. And I went and bugged a bunch of foremans, and then the one that called me back was the strut form foreman, and then that's how I got the job with them. So I worked as a carpenter with them, and then I went back to school because it was a better choice. Because at the end of the day, my body can't. At the end of my body's not gonna be able to handle becoming a carpenter for the rest of my life. If I get hurt once, I'm done with, right?
Well, you know what? I would frame all of that. That's really good. So I would frame it that you've done sort of the hands-on stuff, like figure out how you want to say that with,
Yeah,
especially with the HVAC stuff, that
Yeah.
you have a core understanding of how
Yeah.
things work, enough that you've got like a good intuitive sense of how to do things.
uh-huh.
And but you also really appreciated how sites are managed, and
Okay.
you think that because of your you've always had really good communication skills, that it's a really good fit for you to be in a management position eventually. Like you want to work your
Eventually.
way through your and sort of maybe frame it that you're somebody that likes to understand how systems work and how the whole thing works. That's why you like the hands-on trade aspect to begin with, but you also then have this sort of passion or calling towards being able to organize and manage the sites.
Hold on, I'm just writing everything down what you're saying.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, no problem.
What was the last thing you said? You said passion for.
Passion and calling. There's a calling for you to get into managing, organizing, scheduling projects.
Okay. Yeah, so she touched base on it, but the thing is that initially when she called the first phone call, she didn't say it was like gonna be a phone interview. But then she's like, thank God I did a lot of research, and I did like a lot of research about the website, and then like even when it came to I went on their LinkedIn and I would look up like what if I found some interns that they had. I looked at like because so some people go over and above with their LinkedIn. They write the tasks that they did as an intern. So I like looked that up. I wrote it down. So she even asked. I had everything ready. And since it was a phone interview, I had like 6 pages of notes in front of me of like any questions she shot at me. I had already answered and like with jot notes, right? But these are really good. Those are really good. What you actually gave me.
Yeah, you gotta play that, because that's a competitive advantage you have that, 60% of the rest of the class that you're going against doesn't
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
20%. So you got to play that, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good thing, and then you've got an advantage over somebody that's just been doing a trade, because now you've got a diploma.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So
you can play those two that will really be helpful for you to get in the door. Don't forget the value of those two, and they're both value. Even the story about, well, I decided I wanted to try something else, such as don't say that the mechanical bored you or anything.
Yeah. So what's a better way of like? What's a better way of like saying it to someone and it sounds respectable? Like in their eyes, it's not as bad as saying I got bored of it, didn't like it.
Just say that while you were doing that, you found the formwork side very intriguing, because you were on projects where you saw that happening, and so you wanted to try that, and it wasn't easy to get a job through the union directly. So
exactly,
I went out to every site with a hard hat asking. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they put me in that way because the union didn't get me a spot.
Yeah.
Take it that way.
Okay. Because so what she
That
asked.
shows diligence, right?
Okay. Because she asked something along those questions, along that lines for a question. I just told her that yeah, like she asked me like what this change was, and I just told her so my answer was I realized that I was a very detail oriented person. I love seeing how a site could go from nothing to a full grown building with everything made onto it. So along those lines, that's the answer I actually gave.
That's
So
good.
that's okay.
That's probably why you're getting this interview.
Okay, I hope so. I just because I was surprised that she gave me a call. When she called me, she's like she's like I remember you from the industry expo. She's like you asked questions because Black and McDonald didn't have that like they had a really dry presentation. Not many people cared about them. Everyone was all waiting for Elliston or Palmer Lou or the really big boys, right? So
you know what, Black and McDonald, I
is a very large company. I know because I worked in HVAC and like they're massive, right? You see their trucks all the time, and they have offices everywhere now. So
across Canada.
Yeah.
And they have more employees, I hazard to guess, than Elliston.
Yeah. So it was like, I guess maybe she told me, she's like, you stuck out because she's like, I remember your name from that chat. Because in other words, she was telling me, and then she started asking me, she's like, oh, how did you feel about our industry expo? Like, what did you like about it kind of deal? And I told her it was good. And then I guess what it was is that I actually rewatched her interview because they posted the recordings, and I rewatched and I wrote down a lot of the quotes she wrote. And then even when I re-said them, she's like, oh my God, she's like, you actually listened to my presentation kind of deal. And then she's just like, okay, I got like, you know what? She pretty much told me, she said, you're going to hear back from me, but it just took her a little bit to get back to me. So.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, you do your homework, and also you don't wait for things. If the union's not getting you a job, you hop in your car and you go looking for it, right?
Yeah, I had to do that. That time I had to do that because I was at home for like 2-3 weeks, so I was losing my mind.
Yeah, well, there's people that'll stay home 2 or 3 months without even doing anything. So.
I hear you. So some of that. So are there any questions off the top of your head you think that they would like ask? Because another thing is she's telling me
they don't usually ask you detailed technical.
Oh, really?
Too much, I don't think.
So, and another part is that I didn't add this in, but when she called me, she's like, oh, this is how she said it. She's like, don't be afraid, but she's like, the division manager of mechanical and ICI construction is going to be joining us for it. And then she's like, oh, he's a really nice guy, but she's like, I just want to let you know. So I was like, just like, do you think that is he there just to rate see how I am as a person? Or do you think he's going to be throwing, what can I call it? Like,
technical questions?
Yeah, technical questions. That's what I'm worried about. If he's going to come throw some real technical questions at me, right?
Well, quality, it's not like you're applying for a senior project manager role. You're applying for a project coordinator role. So if they know their stuff, they know that somebody new coming in from college doesn't necessarily know everything.
Yeah.
But, if they asked you what an RFI is or something, you should know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not gonna say, oh, here's this complex project and calculate the float on it or something. They're not going to do that.
Okay. Because I was worried that they're going to
what's the critical path if somebody wanted to throw something out or that, but they're not general stuff like.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what is critical?
They might. The other thing they might ask you, because I usually like to ask this, is so Pranav, tell me something that you've failed at and what you learned from that.
Okay.
So you got to think of something ahead of time that probably, maybe because you've got construction background, you could think of something you screwed up. And then what you took away from that. And then what they're really looking at is what did you take away that you won't do that again, that you'll be better at that you've learned from that, or what's a weakness that you have and how do you deal with weaknesses like that? Right?
Yeah, so that was another one. I was like thinking, because I remember I've been watching like recruiter videos from other people and they're telling me that like, oh, like most likely they're going to ask you something like, what's your weakness, right? And then they were on those videos, they were telling me, they just say to think of a weakness that's not related to the job so it doesn't make you look that bad kind of deal. So something that's not related to that kind of field of work or something.
Depends what it is. I wouldn't be afraid to say something that, this is an area that I have struggled with, but this is how I dealt with it. Or you could say, or you could have one that you had in the past and how you
Yeah.
fixed it. Like I've done interviews and I had, there was even one of our faculty that was part-time and then they applied full-time. They asked them, so do you have a weakness that you could identify that you, no, I can't think of any weaknesses that I have.
That's exactly what I don't want to do.
Bullshit.
I don't want to go in. Yeah.
That's like, you know what? And I wanted that faculty to get the job. And it took me like 15 minutes to convince everybody else after they left that they should get the job, that they weren't being arrogant or this or that. They were just nervous. But make sure you have
A weakness, pretty much.
that you're okay with saying. Don't make it like a disaster kind of weakness. Make it,
Okay. All right. Okay.
I think it's, yeah. Don't make it a disaster weakness. Don't make it like, well, I got this thing that I steal, so I can't help myself. Don't do something like that.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, I guess like a lot of the stuff you told me is really good information. I wrote all of it down. Thank you so much for the help. And I was also wondering, is there any way, like, because I know one of the people I spoke to and I'm friends with through LinkedIn, I met through the job fair last year. He works with a company. He told me, he's like, if you could get a recommendation letter from
Yeah.
a professor, even, he's like, that would be good. So just to keep it with you, kind of deal. So is there any way you're able to write if you want? It's up to you if you want to.
You can write one that would describe you, send it to
Okay.
me, and then I'll adjust it and send it
Okay.
to you. Or you can also, probably what they just want is a reference, and then you could give me as a reference.
Okay, perfect. I'll do both actually then. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, no problem for now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm back in case anybody else has any questions. And where is this thing? Okay.
Hey, sir. I have a quick question about the assignment.
Yeah, sure.
So you know how we have the 10-day delay on the assignment? It doesn't matter if is it supposed to be on the critical path or on the main the whole
Yeah, it should be on
date
the
of
critical path.
on the critical path? Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Keep getting this thing. Wow. that it? Okay, everybody, I guess I'll see you then next week. Bye for now.
All right, see you, sir.
Okay, take it easy, everybody.